This is the new Renault Rafale, and unfortunately after searching for 20 minutes to find a scenic location to film in today, a man with a leaf blower just decided he wanted to unleash all his energy across the field. And I've got to go to the airport, so I can't find anywhere else. What is this car? Well, it is an SUV coupe. It's in two versions, 200 brake horsepower or 300 brake horsepower all-wheel drive, which we'll get a bit into the future. But you can get the new Rafale pretty soon here in Ireland. So it has a 1.23 cylinder petrol engine combined with a couple of motors, delivering 200 brake horsepower in total. And this style of car is really popular right now, so Renault reckon they're going to sell a lot of them. Front of it, very striking. You've got optional matrix headlights, very sharp pronounced nose on it. What is very cool, this is inspired by 1970s French art apparently, and as I move to the left and right of the car you'll probably see the grille changing. So there's a grey and this blue that reflects in the grille depending on what angle you look at it, and that looks really amazing. So over the side it's still got that very sloped back on it. Let me know what other vehicles you see in this car, because some people have mentioned Lamborghini, some people have mentioned Peugeot 3008, it's a bit of a Skoda Enyaq vibe off it, but the nose is really beautiful. There's a couple of trim options, so there's 4 in total, which is plenty, but the Alpine version is the one you'll probably want because that has 4-wheel steering. It obviously looks best. It has upgraded wheels. These are 20-inch wheels that we're looking at today. Still very good looking, to be fair. You can tailor, so the boot, as you can see here, is blue, but you can change that to black. There's different 9 combinations of packs that you can use to tailor your Rafale as well, and that will also include the mirror housing. 4 control, as you'll see here, is on the badge. So what that means is it can steer with rear wheel steering as well as front. Even at motorway speeds it can turn up to 1 degree. But it means the turning circle of this car is just over 10 meters, which is pretty easy to park in city centre car parks. Just using the turning circle for such a big car, it will make your life a lot easier. Now let's jump inside away from leaf blower man to demonstrate. This is the first time you can do this in a car. So you can go from kind of see-through like this, and then you can divide which parts of your sunroof aren't frosted. So we've seen stuff like this in the ID7 from Volkswagen, but the fact that you can actually tailor how much of it covers the car is pretty cool. Now you can't make it black, but it is all controlled from a button here. So this is where I really see 3008 vibes off the car. It's like as if they took the exact same spoiler and, you know, just attached it onto this car. You've got a Rafale badge over the back, unlike the Tavascan that we just had a look at, because that doesn't mention the model name anywhere. So this is your E-Tech hybrid notification on the back. Inside the boot then, there's plenty of space. Loads. There is a lip for getting things in and out, which is a little bit of an issue. A couple of shopping bag holders, but overall it's pretty solid. 627 litres, which is really usable, like massively usable. So you'll get extra little side areas here where you can store things. You've got a bit of storage down here, including a spare wheel, so no trying to work out a mobility kit. It probably would be nice if this was a flexible shelf, but it does split in 2 here, so you can actually divide it in terms of how you might need to use it. And the angle of this rear windscreen is it's at 17 degrees. The idea is, yes, it has a sloping roofline, but it shouldn't impede on the head height for rear drivers, the way it doesn't really come fully down until here. The rear lights look really good when you have your lights on. You've got sweeping indicators, very Enyaq coupe over the back, including how the rear lights look. What about that spoiler? We've seen that somewhere else, haven't we? Rear of the car, lots and lots of space. So It's almost a flat floor. 2 USB-C charging ports here for people. I love the way, you see the door card? It's covered with a felt material, but at least it's broken up by the colour. Well, in this case of this car, we've got little cutouts in the back of the seat, so plenty of space for your knees and your legs. And again, you can see that sloping roof line still affords plenty of head height. A couple of nice spotlights there as well. Now here's a part of the car that will interest you if you have kids. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to still kill each other, but under here, first of all, 2 USB-C charging ports for their devices, but these are tablet and phone holders, and there's 2 of them. So you can swivel these around, put them in front of whoever, and they should be happy for a little while. Now I say should, so I can't guarantee your kids aren't going to kill each other, but there's plenty of space in the back of the car for them to swing their arms, at least. For those of us a little bit into aviation, the Rafale aircraft is etched into the glass of the back of the car. It's a nice touch. Summit blue is the colour of this car. I mean, it looks striking. You're going to be able to get the entry level of the Rafale from just over €51,000. That does rise quite a bit depending on what spec you're going for. Interesting enough, the space interior, the wheelbase of the car is the same as the Renault Scenic. So getting your family and everyone into the car should be easier. Also, speaking of kids and digging each other in the arms, so you have a sunglasses holder here, but you also have a mirror, which means you can see who's giving each other dead arms in the back. That's always fun. That was a Dinny Joe floating down. You're not seeing things. So we have this, borrowed from Audi perhaps, handle that you can rest your arm on, your wrist on when you're driving. Wireless charging pad here, 2 for the USB-Cs down here. This car is full of charging pods. Also, these Alpine seats, great bolsters on the sides. They said the sporty nature of the car and how it can drive, they needed good supportive seats. So it works. Dog leg shifter. The instruments are very clear. I love the Google system. I always have. Lots of shortcuts to things. The climate control never leaves the bottom with physical buttons and digital buttons if you like. But the one complaint about this speedometer is it sometimes cuts off a bit of the numbers, particularly if you're into triple digits. It's a little bit... Steering wheel is pretty much what we've seen in the Megane E-Tech and the Austral. It's flat bottomed, flat at the top. You've got Alpine stitching colours in this car, in this example. A Harman Kardon sound system, so if you like your tunes, you might want to go for that option. But once again, the roof is very interesting in how it works. It was a French innovation company, nothing to do with Renault. I can't remember the name right now, but well done innovation company, because they came up with this technology to be able to take what is a screen in the glass and be able to do that with it. So it works very well. Also, in certain models, you have dynamic chassis control, so you can go in and mess around with things. You can see the degrees on the wheels here, and there's hill descent. Not really sure why you necessarily might use that, but it's there if you like. So just to recap then on how the engine setup works. You've got 130 brake horsepower, and then you've got hybrid assist giving you 200 in total. And in a lot of slow moving traffic, and even when you're on the move, you will be in battery mode, except you just don't have, it's so hybrid electric vehicle, so you don't have to plug it in. One of the things that I noticed on motorways and sort of between 90 kilometers an hour upwards, you'll get a transition where it needs petrol and there's a bit of hesitation before it kicks into full petrol. And if you're overtaking something, those few moments where you're not quite sure if it's going to come into life can be a bit hairy. Like at the moment now, I'm doing 67 kilometers an hour and it's battery and it's fine, but then it's nearly 2 seconds before the petrol kicks in, and the transition is not the smoothest. And same with the braking Brakes are good, but sometimes, because you've got different levels of regen, it's doing that common occurring thing with hybrids where it's using battery regen and then friction. So they're not spongy, but it's worth pointing out. Now, driving this on about 120 kilometre route today, we're achieving 7.5 litres per 100 kilometres. Have been driving the car hard. So, I'm not doubting Renault's figures, but if you're doing a lot of motorway driving and hills and descents and ascents and that kind of progressive driving, shall we say, you might see something above the quoted consumption figures. But again, for 200 brake horsepower, and I've been using a lot of the 200 of the horsepower, and a big car, it's not bad fuel economy. And certainly if you do get it under or even around 5, I think you'd be happy, very happy with that. So you got the 4-wheel steering on certain trims. I think it's Alpine up, or there's Espirit, and there's a couple of them that have the 4-wheel. Even at motorway speeds, they can turn to 1 degree, so you do feel it into corners. It's a lovely feature, really is good. Road surfaces, so again on this model upwards, you can mess with the different chassis settings, soften it, harden it, firm it up if you want a more sporty drive. On the bigger wheels, you're going to feel a lot of bumps when you do that, but on smoother road conditions, it's very comfortable. There is a bit of tyre noise off these tyres as well. I don't know if that's kind of coming through in the microphone, but yeah, there's quite a presence from the road and the tyre surfaces. The speed is weird. It's not half, but an eighth cut off. And depending on what speed you're doing, so I'm doing 84 at the moment, and the 4 is blocked. And if you go back to 1, you can see all of the 1. And if you go into triple digits for motorway driving, nearly an entire digit is cut off from the design of the dashboard. I mean, it looks sporty, but I've no doubt some people they'll have a moan about that, you know, just because. Road holding is very good, so it's grippy and it goes into corners very well. So it's got an independent McPherson multi-link suspension on all models, and that will help with, well, the ride quality, the handling as well. Should be more comfortable for rear passengers in particular, so it's good they have that across the board. It's a bit weird sometimes when you hear that 3-cylinder engine, but you really have to be pushing it to hear it. Like even at 80 kilometers an hour now, it could be a V8 for all I know. Maybe not quite a V8, but you know what I mean. And you know, it's quite refined when you're not relying on huge levels of power. And then the looks, I mean, the front of it looks great. I love that little touch where the colour changes depending on the angle and the light. They're like floating ice cubes for the rear lights. You get the sweeping indicator. The fact that you can change the colour of the spoiler and the mirror housing if you want. You want to kind of tailor your own car. You know, there's some nice bits that you can do. And it really, I mean, it looks absolutely great. Now let's just try it this steering. So yeah, the turning circle for such a large car, it's brilliant. It's not quite Honda E like, but it's good. There is something a little bit endearing as well about that 3-cylinder growl at times. But yeah, you're not going to want for power really. It's just that little bit of hesitation. You lift off, it goes back into battery mode. It can be a little bit jumpy, and how it does. That's really my biggest criticism in terms of driving performance. Steering is pretty light. A little bit of feedback in it though, so it does have a sportier nature perhaps than a lot of these type of cars, and certainly looks wise has a really sporty kind of character to it. So yeah, good on Renault. It's nice interior, drives well, looks really, really smart. The main problem is the price. So I hope we've learned something in this first drive video of the new Renault Rafale. Despite Mr. Leaf Blower, it's a seductive looking car. Apart from that hesitation between driving in petrol and EV mode, and Renault and their engineers have explained that there had to be a bit of a compromise somewhere to get the whole package together, and that was a drivetrain area that they just felt was something that people could live with, and the transition should hopefully still be smooth enough. Apart from that, it is a cracking looking car. It's really good to drive, and if you get it in this kind of smart blue colour, you're really going to get plenty of admiring glances on the road. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below for this first look at the Renault Rafale. Thanks for watching.